everyone, and welcome to another episode of our podcast series, the Spotlight Sessions here at HighLevel. In these sessions, we showcase the top leaders in sales and marketing across the world. Today, I'm joined by Azhar Siddiqui, the co-founder of RepStack. And if you haven't heard of RepStack, let me introduce you to them. RepStack is best described as a talent as a service, and their clients subscribe to mission-driven and long-term team members. And Azhar and I met back maybe about 2 years ago, if not maybe a little sooner, in June. And we met at a conference where seven-figure agency owners go to learn, network, and grow their business with being around other like-minded, successful professionals, either at their level or above their level. And when I had a chance to meet him, he had a table there, and I saw this book. Right. And I purposely waited until the table was clear because my fear was that I'm going to go take the book and they're going to give me maybe a sales pitch, or maybe I have to get vulnerable because at that time I was an agency owner. I didn't want to get vulnerable, especially with a stranger that you don't know quite yet. So I grabbed the book quietly and I ran off and I read the book, I reviewed it, and then I started to see Azhar around and around. And now we have connected while I'm here now at HighLevel. So Azhar, it is a pleasure to have you here. We've put together a robust discussion around the pain point that people are experiencing at all levels. And we called this episode From Burnout to Breakthrough. From Burnout to Breakthrough. And Azhar and I have pretty much went in depth on what are some of the things that are most important to our audience at HighLevel, and maybe those that are just getting started with HighLevel. So we put together 3 bullet points. First one we're going to discuss is burnout to breakthrough signs. Burnout to breakthrough signs. Second one is the right people and the right support. And last, we're going to bring everything home with bringing the vision to life. Azhar, I know that you take your craft very seriously. You're a co-founder at RepStack. Your team is amazing. You all are doing amazing things internally and externally. For those that may not know you yet or know you well enough yet, could you share a little bit about you, your journey, and what they could expect listening to this episode today?
Well, JB, thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure. We've been seeing each other for some time now, and I think this was long overdue. Great meeting the HighLevel team just this start of the month, and at the advanced mastermind that we just had. And just hanging out with the people that I always wanted to hang out with. Although a little bit about me, it did not start like that. Right now, you described us really, really well. Talent as a service, mission-driven long-term, those 2 words in the same sentence. I know it sounds a lot, but another thing that we focus on is the audience of this podcast, which is SaaSpreneurs and people working inside HighLevel and agency owners. That's really our inch wide and mile deep, right? That's all we work with, agency owners and SaaS businesses. But, it did not start out like that. Like you, JB, I've been a marketing agency owner for the last 15 years in Calgary, Canada. And, it's been a struggle, man. It's been exciting. Over the last 6 to 7 years of it, it's been a more comfortable ride for me as a one-man organization and outsourcing everything to contractors and things like that. So I feel that, that's part of the journey. You gotta like Robert Greene in his books, 48 Laws of Power and Mastery, he talks about 2 things. You gotta identify your calling and you gotta do an apprenticeship. And his apprenticeship model is 10,000 hours, which is anywhere from 5 to 7 years in today's work life. So I feel that I put in a lot of time and effort in the agency world to understand the nuances, so that's like what we bring to the table just from the get-go inside this thing. But, things really started changing for me, like I was kind of in a rut, like I was doing good, making 6 figures for myself. But it wasn't where my agency, like where I envisioned myself to be. And this is around 2020, you mentioned a coach that we connected around. And around that time, when I introduced this fantastic coach, I'll name drop him as well, Josh Nelson at the Seven Figure Agency. I was introduced automatically to HighLevel. And so that's when I signed up for our HighLevel account that should still be active from around October, November of 2020. And that's when, like my life was just like full of ideas at this time, right? Like I had HighLevel, I had a great coach, one of the best in the game. And I had a whole bunch of things lined up in front of me. I could have launched multiple uh, niche focused marketing agencies using all the automations from HighLevel and the understandings that I had and the teachings that I had, and multiple of those because I had clients who I was crushing them in my local markets. Um, but slightly we got another opportunity, and this is another thing that I learned, a lesson in my life, that you got to ask for it. It's such a huge thing if you don't ask for what you're looking for. This was a course I was taking back in Minnesota, computer networking. I absolutely hated it. I bombed two of those classes. The third time I went up to my professor, I'm like, man, I can't do it. I'm going to have to drop it again. And he finally brings me up to him and he's like, dude, I can't read your mind. If you need help, you got to ask for it. I never did get through that course, but that lesson stayed with me. And, like I've made it a habit of, especially when it's most important, I've made a habit of asking for it. And, long story short, around that 2020 point, I asked for it and I was able to start placing some people inside some of the best, like these are Inc. 500, Inc. 5000 agencies. We started placing people inside who were all, by the way, using HighLevel behind the scenes. So right now, I think if I have to take a rough estimate, 90 to 95% of our clients, all around 200 of them are using HighLevel behind the scenes. So that's kind of where, the journey really, really it took the high gear, HighLevel, and so to speak. So, so HighLevel's been there from day one in my journey. And then over the last 3 to 4 years, we really, really, I've had a lot of fun. I went from one person operation in my 15-year marketing agency to now being responsible for 250 people overnight as the CEO and the co-founder of RepStack, working inside the field that I love, the marketing field, working behind the scenes with these amazing marketing agencies who are deploying HighLevel and seeing the impact it's having on the clientele, on the local economies, and especially, which is really close, near and dear to my heart, how the people dynamics work at a successful agency versus somebody who's struggling. Like I've been studying this over the last 4 years, enjoying a whole bunch, working with a whole bunch of HighLevel agencies, lots of SaaS businesses on HighLevel as well. And it's just been a really humbling opportunity, and really owe it all to, the people that we surround with. Obviously, that's number one, my team. But, like you can see the common occurrences, getting a coach, landing on a software like HighLevel, those are the basis of, this extraordinary growth that we've seen over the last 3 to 4 years. So, in a nutshell, I belong to the niche. That's where I'm from. And I'm working where I love working every single day. And, at this point, like 18th, almost, I'm going to be hitting 20 years inside the niche. I'm having the most amount of fun that you can imagine.
And that's exactly why this worked out at the perfect time, because with what you're doing and what you've been through, it's the season is changing right now. Wherever you are in the country, the season is changing. And when there's a new season changing, there's a requirement of refreshing approaches, making adjustments, and putting those to-do lists to work. So I appreciate you really sharing in depth your story. And as I'm listening to you and as our audience is listening, I felt a lot of pain when you shared that story. I felt a lot of repeating what you maybe have gone through when you didn't know what you know now, and the struggle. You hear it and you see it because you share the story so passionately that it wasn't always the way it is now. I had to go through some learning curves, and I had to go through some burnout, some halt stops, and it looks like you've gone through your breakthrough at maybe let's call it version 5 out of unlimited, right? So
Yep.
every time our version is improving. So thank you for sharing that, and our audience appreciates it. Whether they're a marketer at an early stage, an agency owner at a veteran stage, whether they're niche or whether they're generalists, or even if they're just a new user coming into our ecosystem, all of them have in common is they want to hear from people that have been there, failed at it, been there, gotten better from it, and been there and can best teach it to them so that way they can fast track their learning process. So I appreciate you. Tell me a little bit about what inspired you to write Hiring Secrets. And it's very, caught my attention on from a distance, whether it was the pages, right? The pages. I'm a reader where I like to look at the back, I like to look at the front, and then I like to look at the table of contents. And then
Yeah.
my overall is how thick is the book, because I could use it as a resource as I'm going through my day, right? So tell me a little bit about this, how this kicked off, and what process you followed to really make sure you got to
Yeah.
the pain points.
Yeah. I think the big secret that I talk about here is like this is after working with over 500 agencies in the span of this last 2 to 3 years that we've had this phenomenal growth, and bringing that to life, that we realize that beyond your founding team inside an agency, there's going to be, first, number one, there's going to be a point where you're going to have to hire people. You just can't grow a business without it. And so that's point number one. Like 60% of up to 60% of our revenues as marketing agencies and SaaS businesses is eventually going to go towards paying some sort of payroll. So that's going to be by default the biggest expense that you're going to always see inside your businesses. That's just the nature of the businesses that we operate. These are human intensive, resource intense businesses. So that was point number one. But then when I started placing these people, JB, we got the opportunity to realize that, beyond that nuance of the intricacies of the founding teams, who have to be like passionate people like you, and people who, like the founding team that we see at GHL, right? Sean, Varun, Robin, these guys bring that special something to the table. But beyond that, the secret is really, there's like really 4 key roles inside every single SaaS and marketing business, which is your marketing associate, which is our bread and butters. It's further divided into 4 sub roles. We'll go into that later. But the others are your account managers. You need to do customer service. You're going to need account managers. You're going to need SDRs or sales development reps, or setters and closers. And then I feel this is the most neglected role, which is the executive assistant. And that's really your 4 roles that you really need to look at when you're building out your marketing agencies and SaaS businesses. And you can hire inside these roles really entry-level people, at this point, because I mentioned that you're going to already have that founding team. You're going to have the experience you need. You're going to have the passion you need. Now you just need to bring in these people who can, there's, for example, your CRM expert. That's one of the job roles that we place in, a lot of high-level people. But most of the people that we place, they don't have a lot of experience. One person who is in his, I think, second year working on GHL, we just trained him inside RepStack Success Academy for around 3 months, placed him. Within 3 to 6 months, this person was operating at an expert level inside this big dental marketing niche. And at this point, he's managing about a team of 3 people just around automations built on HighLevel. So, you know, it didn't take much. It just took the right mindset person, and an entry-level person was able to do the job. So we realized that, you know, like that's the secret. You go for those 4 roles, and then you bring in passionate people, and then you train them for skill. But these are the 4 roles that you're always going to come back to. And this is where you're going to have to pay a lot of money to the teams that you're going to be building out and things like that. So, you know, so that's kind of really the focus of the entire business. We don't do a whole lot. We only work with SaaS businesses, marketing agencies. We only place inside these 4 roles. We don't do like extraordinary, like 5-10 years of experiences. We're 6 months to 3 year experience. That's our sweet spot. We just stay there. But
So on that note, you know, you've got the talent down. You put the book together to basically give the framework, right? So you'll include some information on how to get the book in the description. I want to read a testimonial within the first page as I open this up, because you know you're speaking organically and proudly about the Go HighLevel software, right? Because you're our customer, you're a user. We have not asked you to mention any of this stuff. Like this is typically what happens with people that are daily active users. They run their business and they are in the community. And you know, it looks like in this over here I'm reading is our co-founder at HighLevel, Sean Clark, leaves a testimonial in the book. No fluff, no BS, just actionable steps to build a 7-figure marketing agency. I've been fortunate enough to be able to watch Azhar drive the growth of his agency and establish their leadership in their market. Read his book, right? So mic drop on that one. And to pivot here, because it's important that people understand that they aren't always being automatically protected by bad information. You need to source and verify your you know, who you're listening to and who you're grabbing best practices from. So I want to now take that and pivot into our first talking point here, which is a very painful part of the discussion. It is the signs. What are the signs of burnout, right? Because sometimes we don't see it. Maybe our family sees it, but they don't want to say anything. Maybe our partners see it. They don't know how to say it or bring it to our attention. In your experience and what you've seen with agency owners from before to when they start working with you, what is a few signs of burnout that maybe a listener could say, I'm experiencing something similar to that?
yeah, I think I'm going to put on the spot here my really good friend and client and our vendor, Justin Day at Day by Day Marketing. Amazing marketer. Been at it for lots and lots of years. And around about a year ago, you know, he's already built out a great agency, you know, really heavy on, again, you know, it's just automatic because most of our clients are working inside HighLevel. You know, like his automation game is to the next level, right? Like the stuff that he's able to build out using HighLevel and integrating other systems inside an agency, even for ourselves. So, you know, so he was able to do most of this stuff and build his business up to a 7-figure business. And you know, over the last 4 years, I have seen no one. I've seen people who've, you know, gotten to like maybe 50,000 a month, 40,000 a month. You know, most people like hire way before these points, but Justin was already, you know, reaching that 7-figure point just by himself and outsourcing most of the work. So that was phenomenal. Like I've never seen anything like that. But when I spoke to Justin, you know, he told me about that time frame when he was doing that. He was like, man, I was burnt out. Like I was not having fun what I was doing. And you know, there was so much going on at the same time and it was no fun anymore. So, you know, when you take that part out, I think that's...
Would you say no? When you start doing something, because I'm just thinking of it as if I was an agency owner listening in on this, or just a marketer. So if I'm no longer having the same fun I had initially, and we know that things will change as they get harder, responsibilities become more, but what's a barometer? Is it where you stop showing up to the computer desk? Is it where you stop caring about
I don't
emails
think so.
and responding?
I think the type of people we know, the agency owner, you know, that's the last thing they do, that stop showing up. But I'm really talking about what's inside here. I think for me, that's really important. We're in the people business, and like looking everyone in the face and like getting to the hard truth. That's the important thing. And like when you stop having fun, you're like, we've all felt that, JB. Like, I used to have this job at Best Buy, and I went in management. I owe a lot to that job. I learned my sales and all of that stuff, but there was a point where I just didn't feel it. That was the point around where my agency already started. That job was not, I wasn't feeling it. And I had these bad knots in my stomach at the end of the weekend when I had to go back to work. And that's my measuring stick, man. Like, if you're going to ask me if you're having fun or not, I'm going to tell you, like, are you feeling excited to come to work on Monday? Because if you're not, I need to speak to you. Like, that's what I talk to like all of my people every time I get an opportunity, man. Like, if that's the first thing, if you're not having fun here, I do not wish that on anyone. I made a point of that when I build out my business. I'm going to make sure that every person who's going to be working there actually wants to be there. And when you stop wanting to be there, it's going to be just like, I would not wish that on my enemy, because
So
it's the worst
painful.
feeling. I've been through it. So when that happened, and that happened for Justin, right? So like he was burnt out, man. Like he's like his work ethic is phenomenal. So like, you can forget about it that he was thinking of quitting or thinking, but he needed a way out, like how to get that fun back. And I believe he's at his fifth or sixth team member from RepStack right now.
Wow.
And he's doing a lot of stuff for us because he's got that special type of experience. And he's having so much fun, man. Like you gotta see this guy. Like he was supposed to come out for the Dallas event, but something happened and couldn't.
We
But
definitely have to connect. We got to jump on a Zoom. I would
yeah,
appreciate the introduction. A
and
friend of
that's
yours is,
that's what changed his life, right?
yeah.
Like turn around, bring that passion back. How are you going to bring that back? Is that inevitably, even if you're like Justin, like a superhero marketer, and you can build out a seven-figure agency without hiring anyone, inevitably you're going to be hiring people. Just like Justin, over the last 6 months to a year, he's built out about a 6-person team, and he's continued to building out that team. So your team's going to be there. Let them take care of the stuff that you don't want, that's bogging you down, and get back into the horse and saddle and have fun every single Monday morning that you come back to work.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing from that, from that story is there's an art and a process to automating and delegating, and then
Yeah.
putting together that vision and then having others execute on it will bring back the fun. As you start gaining momentum on the fun and more projects get completed, and you're moving the needle along, what is a sign of what's an example of a breakthrough? What's an example of something outside of just doing what you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
out, from burning out?
There's so many, man. Just imagine hiring your first account manager. Like, say if you have like even 100 clients right now, 50 clients, even 20, right? Like I recommend, like if you're an agency and you have you're growing steadily and you hit that 20 mark, you should be definitely thinking about hiring a full-time account manager. But just like we as agency owners, uh it's unthinkable for some of us to think that, hey, if my client doesn't call me, who are they going to talk to, right?
Mm.
Just having this stuff taken, and I did that in my entire career inside my marketing agency because I was a one-man operation. All my clients had direct access to me, going
Mm.
out to a mall on the weekend and getting those calls. And I've been there, I've done that. But in this business, and then seeing so many people like Justin, for example, uh, just taking stuff that they've been doing, building this seven-figure age business already, and then one day getting someone placed within the over the 1 to 2 week period, having everything uh, taken over by this account manager, and boom, your phone is silent. Your
Ooh.
clients are not calling you anymore. They're not emailing you anymore. You're not even worried about that stuff anymore, because you had these systems and processes, because obviously you would have, unless you were like me, like really, not big revenues where everything is just in my head. But a guy like Justin already has systems and processes in place. He's got automations. He's been able to build a 7-figure business like that. But now he brings in this account manager and takes over all the processes that he already has built out. It's such a relief. But that also talks to, like, before you go into these breakthroughs, there's all these breakthroughs ready to happen all around you. You just want to kind of take a breather before you get too excited about hiring and building a team and things like that. And just look at some of the prerequisites. What are some of the things that you want to be able to do before you even think about hiring your first person, right? So I do have this course on our GHL official GHL link, which everyone gets free access to. I spent a lot of time and energy working with Josh Nelson on it to build this out. 7 hours of videos and ton of swipe and deploys, GHL snapshots and everything that you need to do, 5 lessons and all of that. The first lesson is prerequisites, the 7 prerequisites. And one of them is just, JB, to give you a teaser, is your mission and values. Like, do you even have those things written down anywhere before you start bringing in people on this crazy vision that you have? It's probably great, but you want like this, recent college graduate to bet all their life on your agency, but do you have anything to show them, or is it all in your head, right? Like, at least the mission and the values, like, have them written out on a piece of paper, like, spend some time. That's the minimum you owe to any new employee coming in. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. But those breakthroughs are everywhere, man. They're going to happen. They're going to happen, obviously, in the automations, like delegate or automate. Those are really 2 things that we can do, right? Like, we automate the hell out of things using HighLevel and everything that we do. But the other thing is going to be, to continue to grow, you're going to have to inevitably delegate. And that's where the other side of breakthroughs come in.
Yeah, and in chapter 8 of your book, we have a series of chapters that are broken down into hiring the right people, the support they need, and then the support you train them to support the clients that they're serving. But in addition to the book, what I'm learning here, hot off the press, is that you've put together a whole learning course along with some assets that you're gifting to our audience. Is that correctly received?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
That's a nice
definitely.
curveball. Thank you. We appreciate that. And we'll have a link below in the description with all those, with how to claim those assets and really, dive into it as a structured guide on what maybe changes you need to make and what pivot. But I want to touch on here the right people and the right support. It's a statement that is very general. Yeah, of course, I'll get the right people, and of course, we're going to give them all the support. But could you dig deep just a little bit of what is the responsibility outside of somebody paying somebody, right? Outside of them paying them a wage, what is the human responsibility as an owner of a business for this person that is trusting you, even though you're paying them, they're trusting you, and you're trusting them. Like, how do you start to build out after you meet the person? What do you do next, and how do you kind of maybe filter out the noise?
Yeah, even before that, I think that's a very amazing way of putting it, JB, the way you put it, that, there's going to be, when you're bringing on someone on your team, you're really taking on a bigger responsibility than just paying that paycheck. That's going to be a small part of it. And now you're a mentor, you're a coach, you're an employer, you're a whole bunch of things as soon as you hire your first employee. So, in the course that I was talking about, I have like the 7 prerequisites. I would want everyone to just take a look at that, because, hiring people, I mentioned that, most of us who are grown businesses, the biggest expense is your payroll. But, there's ways of avoiding big mistakes that I've made, and I've seen so many other agency owners made, because we were just operating in our silos, not working with each other. And we hired the first wrong hire, then we hire the second wrong hire. By the time we know it, that we're done with hiring globally. We're only going to have everyone packed inside my office in Dallas. And, like we have these crazy notions of why it's not working. This is how I'm going to make it work. But, before you get to that point and learn some of those really expensive lessons, you really want to just sit down and figure out that, like what you said, that, what are the responsibilities that you're going to have? So, like I have a list of these prerequisites, like, like mission and values. Do you have that on paper? Do you know when this person is going to come in, who is the reporting manager going to be? What are the KPIs for this new hire? Like, is it going to be one thing one day, another thing another day, and it's just going to continue to change? And it's such a bad experience for this person coming in, right? Like, imagine this person working with a guy like me who's just like, like looking at different things, getting excited about without any systems and processes in place. It'll be really deflating for that particular person without any KPIs, any targets. How will your people work? Will they be remote? Will they be inside your offices? Is it going to be a hybrid? We're remote first, just like HighLevel is. But there's other agencies who are like really great at hybriding it out and, like having in office and having remote teams working together. How are you going to pay the new employees? Do you have that figured out? New employee onboarding, very important part. Like, how are you going to onboard? Are you just going to say that, hey, come just shadow me all day long, right? Or do you have a plan in place for that? What's the plan for the first 90 days? So those are just some of the questions. Like, if you just sit down and answer those questions, or you can go through the course that I put together, you'd be able to just like have at least the basic infrastructure ready to go, and your chances of success are going to be phenomenal. Now you can go to your real question, like what are you looking for in these team members when you're starting to hire? And at that point, yeah, like I think like if you have to look at one thing, this is what I would focus on. I would hire for passion and train for skill. As long as you have passion, man, like without passion, there's no fun in working with this. Like I work with a lot of people, JB, and one thing that I've realized is that, I don't feel like going into a meeting where I know this person is a pessimist and, this person is just going to drain the energy out of me. I love working with people who are just like building stuff. They're passionate, and, so that's what the type of people you want to surround yourself with. Why in the world would you hire a person who's not passionate about the business that you're building, things like that, right? So just look for that, and then everything, I promise you, will fall into place, because there is, like HighLevel. I gave you that HighLevel certification exam. That kid went from being a university graduate to training on HighLevel, and this big dental firm, he's running the entire CRM system, like the automation department there right now, in less than 2 years. It doesn't take too long these days to kind of build the skill set up, as long as you find the right people who have the passion. So I think that's the most critical thing about your employees.
So if I'm hearing this as an agency owner or somebody who wants to level up my business by delegating to human beings, no matter where they're from, in my town, a different state, or a whole different country, if I want to use a service like yours, if I want to use a service like others, or I just want to create my own team that does the service for me, passion's important is what I'm taking from you, because if they have the enthusiasm, the energy, the curiosity, the oomph to show up every day to fuel you and you fuel them, you can, from what I'm hearing, you could pretty much teach them everything that they're passionate about learning and open-minded about learning. Is that accurate to how I'm consuming this?
Yeah, 100%, man. Like,
So I don't need someone with an MBA. I don't need them with computer IT. I don't need them to be Go HighLevel certified with 13 years of experience. I don't need them. I mean, I need them to have good internet connection. I need them to have a nice workspace and a good computer to do what they do. But you can teach the rest. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's bread and butter, right? Those bread and butter roles that I talked about, your account manager, your marketing assistant, executive assistant, and the SDR. These roles can be like really, you can really, like if you've done it yourself, you should be able to teach, right? Like the rule of thumb on the sales, for example, JB, is that you should have at least closed 15 deals yourself, booked 50 appointments yourself before you're ready to bring in someone else and show them the ropes. So that's kind of what we go by, right? Like, but like these things are not rocket science. These things, you're already done it. And you just bring in this person and let him take over bulk of the responsibility that you already were doing on a set system and processes. And but that mindset thing, man, like imagine having account managers who are managing 100 of your SaaS clients, and these guys are not passionate, right? Like I would want a person just like me representing my clients, being the face of the company. So like just think that, the person who has that and does not have that, what is the big difference between that? Like your clients are going to the energy is going to rub off of them. You want your clients to feel excited when they're calling your company, and be like passion, all of that stuff. You can't have that if you have the wrong person in that seat. So that's, I think, the most critical part. Everything else we can build up, we can go like coaching and training. I think like one of the biggest things that I owe to whatever I've been able to get to is just coaching and training consistently. And like we've built our talent as a service business around coaching and training. It's in our DNA. We're constantly coaching and training. And because we know, like I've learned it from myself, that reading a book here and there, it's going to eventually get you to breakthroughs that you were talking about just a while back. So that training is going to always be there. You're going to have to let your people train, learn, get better, invest in them. But I think the ideal person is person who's really passionate, and now they're going to be doing everything in their power, including learning, including going to seminars, including going to GHL events, including becoming certified admin, right? That's another program that we're heavily investing in as RepStack, where you got to have these things. But the first and foremost question, like we want hand raises. For example, JB, I'll give you this quick example. We're trying to enroll as many people as possible. Our goal is to have about 30 to 50 people enrolled inside the certified admin program that GHL has by October. And by next year, we want to have around 100 people. But in order to get these enrollments, because this is a $1,200 a year investment for these people. So, the only criteria we have, anyone can basically raise their hand, but the only criteria we have is that you gotta want it, right? Like we have this in our inside company announcement going out to 250 people. Look, anyone can raise their hands, but you really, really, really have to want it, because, it's going to be extra work. We did the hard sell right up front, right? So that's kind of how we're leading here. And that's what you want to do over here, man. Like just pretty simple. When you have the right person, it's a lot easier. It's a lot more fun doing what you're doing, even on bad days. With the wrong people, it's a nightmare, man.
I agree. I'm with you, man, and I appreciate you really getting to the bone on the feeling, on what you've been through, on what you've seen, on what you've helped coach others with, on just overall of running a business, serving other businesses that require and rely upon your people to come to work without you babysitting them, without you micromanaging them, to do the job at task with passion, enthusiasm, and acting like they own the place, right? Taking full control. And it's a testament to what your internal team puts together, and you as a leader and your co-founders as leaders as well, on the example you set. And speaking about example, right? There are different ways and different strategies that you can create, a vision board, a business plan, a forward-thinking evergreen roadmap. But really bringing the vision to life is a lot of responsibility and a lot of if it's to be, it's up to me. Could you share with me, for someone that's tuning in here, how do you go about bringing the vision to life, where the steps that you're taking every day aren't giving you the result that you want right away, but they are compounding to where it will eventually be. How do you keep that vision alive and
Yeah.
feeling great?
I think the first step that you need to take is, I was reading this quote from Coco Chanel, and I'm going to probably butcher it, but what she said was that, it's okay to think about yourself, right? So that's a big statement coming from, someone who's like an icon in the fashion industry. And what she's really like, to me, what she's talking about is that, it's okay to give yourself a break. Don't think that you got to work yourself to death, and, just to be this person that's going to always be this person. Like, yeah, I get it. I understand. We're like that. We're entrepreneurs. We don't like to give up and all of that stuff. But eventually there's going to be a time where your vision that you're talking about, you're going to be sacrificing your vision for, like, $15-20 an hour tasks, where your clients, they really trust you with that $50,000 project. You're worth probably $1,000 an hour or something like that. And if you're spending that time on $20-25 an hour tasks, then are you being fair to what your client has entrusted you with? I would not be. I would want, I would want to hire an agency who's got a great visionary at the helm. And I know that, this person can maintain the standards of the quality of the work. I wouldn't want, my client, my vendor to be, checking my email and replying back to me and things like that. So to me, that would be mismanagement. So that's the thing. Like, there comes a point in our journey where we're just sacrificing our vision for, a $20 an hour task. So, it's okay to think about yourself. In my opinion, the first role, like if you're just starting out, the first role that you should really, really think about is the executive assistant role. It's really, really underestimated. Another friend of mine, Austin Erebor, runs Netfly Digital, focused on the legal niche, does really, really well, Inc. 500 2023. And I was talking to him on my podcast and asked him, like, what's the first role, a marketing agency owner or a SaaS business should look into? And he's like, it should be an executive assistant. He's like, if I had to do it over again, I'd hire him immediately. As soon as I had some revenue, I would hire an executive assistant, because it's like having two brains, you know, uh, just sending out those ideas that, hey, send these things over to JB in a WhatsApp note. My calendar is in front of me. The first three things that you're going to get rid of right immediately, this is not even like 2-3 weeks down the road. This is like within the first 2 weeks of this person onboarding. You don't have to check your emails anymore. You don't have to reply to them. None of that stuff exists anymore. There's no more scheduling, so no more calling people up. No more. I know there's a lot of automations, but still, there's scheduled clashes. There's a lot of other stuff going on. You don't even need to worry about that anymore. And then our social medias, right? Like, we're the faces of our companies in most cases, and we are we're not doing a great job when it comes down to being generating this content regularly. So we're dropping the ball left, right, and center. So imagine having this person doing just these three things for us from day one. That's 20 to 40% of our time between emails, scheduling, and social media. Some of us are spending that much on these tasks right away. And then as time progresses, this person works right next to you. This person is going to be a lot more than just these three things. Like, strategy wise, you'll be able to rely on them. You'll be able to rely on them for some personal projects, like I do. A lot of stuff that goes on in my private life, she's aware of, all my bills. I don't even have to worry about any of that stuff, right? So there's so much. Like, I've been using an executive assistant for the last 2.5 years, and it's really impossible for me to now think about a life without an executive assistant. That will give you the bandwidth to be happy again and start now hiring these other key roles inside your agency. But yeah, like, I think executive assistant would be a great place for all of us to get started with.
Yeah, in your book, you mentioned, chapter one, the stuck agency owner, which resonated. We touched on that here in our discussion, and it sounds like you're describing the free agency owner,
Yeah.
and the free agency owner. If I'm listening to this and I haven't read your book or I haven't looked at it, the free agency owner is not necessarily I'm not in my business. I'm just in my business in a different way, where I'm
Hmm.
handling the bigger rocks that require my attention, my innovation, my creativity, my authority. And the things that I used to do on top of what I'm doing now are now outsourced to my executive assistant, which you're describing as the person that is trusted, you've trained, you've invested in. They have the passion as you do, and they're handling the administrative day to day that maybe saves you 5 hours easily spread out across a day of a 10-hour day. It's just
Easy.
responding back, right? Etiquette, response, professionalism, just you know, personality, things that you would have ignored. It sounds like he or she is handling while you're tackling the bigger rock. Is that accurate? Receiving it?
Yeah, totally, totally. And I think eventually you're going to start having so much fun here that this person is just going to be like the other day, my EA Sam was reading an email back to me, and I was like, that just sounds exactly like me. And then we just started laughing at each other, right? And now Sam is to a point where she's co-hosting my podcast with me. So she's
That's
on the
amazing.
show. And and then yeah, it's just so much exciting, right? Like life is just better when you have the right type of help right next to you. But also, like, I want to touch up on this, like, this is a very important thing, and people are going to get into this situation when you start building out your teams, is that inevitably people also leave, especially the younger
Mm.
people, no matter how good you get in recruitment. So this is all, if you read my book, if you work with a professional, maybe go through the course that I have, or you're working with a recruitment agency who's helping you out. Most of us, JB, are going to go into the hiring realm, and we're going to make a lot of expensive mistakes. We're going to
Mm.
hire the wrong people because we're not recruiters, right? We're marketers.
Mhm.
That's a completely different skill set. So if you are lucky enough to kind of avoid through some of those pitfalls and start hiring based on what I'm mentioning, or working with some other professionals and things like that, you're eventually going to come into a situation where a people like person that you've trusted and build a business with decide to something happens in their life and they move on, right? What do you do then? So in the last module of the course that I was talking about is called candidate retention and contingency plan. So, I want to work with these people for as long as possible. Like, I want to work with them for the rest of my life. I love all of them, but eventually they're going to leave. Maybe life is going to change. So what does that contingency plan look like? I love these people, but also I don't want to be dependent like that. Hey, what's going to happen when you start getting that feeling that, hey, what happens when Joe leaves tomorrow? You're in trouble. So,
Yeah.
so like we kind of talk about in this training about the contingency planning on, how every person inside your hierarchy chart needs to have a detailed plan of their to-dos that they do, like, daily tasks, weekly tasks, monthly tasks, quarterly tasks, and then everything kind of having its step-by-step instructions and having Loom videos right next to it, right? That's the level you're going to have to be, because even now, if God forbid Sam decides to leave, we have this 90-day contingency plan that's built out. Somebody's going to come in within a week. They're going to be able to start doing the same type of stuff, exactly how Sam was doing, with the same nuances, maybe even better now. But I'm not like, this is not going to break the bank for me. The things like, I would not need to check my email even for one day if that happens, because I've done this in the past. We've successfully brought on, and we've done this for several other clients as well. But it's the contingency plan, right? So you just need to have that plan. It's going to make sure that something bad does not happen when that important employee leaves, and you have that intellectual property that you built out in this particular job role that stays yours when you have these contingency plans built out. But these have to be very in-depth, like every single hour accounted for, every single task accounted for, recorded on video calls and things like that. But keep an eye out for these type of things as well. I think that would complete the full circle, work with the people you want, but also have a plan in place in case they decide to move on.
Yeah. Azhar, we've gone deep. We've gone deep. This may be a little overwhelming for someone that's watched from the middle part till now, or the whole thing as a whole. And that's okay, because that's a sign that you need to adjust and refresh your approach. And because of that feeling, you're on the right path. So take this as a sign that you're on the right path. In the description, there's going to be a handful of resources, ways to contact Azhar and his team, ways to take advantage of the course that he was mentioning, learn about his book and how to purchase it, and all these great things of connecting with people that have been in your shoes and now are in different set of shoes, but are willing to pass down their successes, losses, and experiences. Azhar, for our audience here, what's one piece of wisdom that you could share for them? What's one quick piece of wisdom that you could share for them if they just hear that and that alone?
That's a good question, JB. I think relentless learning. We all got to be relentless learners. If you can become relentless learners, there's going to be breakthroughs that are going to come your way, like left, right, and center. That's what happened to me. That's why, the learnings is a part of RepStack and its DNA. It's at the core. Like I've learned after coming to US, I realized that, you can outshine anyone by learning and working with the right people. So, I just have to put a little bit extra time instead of that cocky person that I'm competing against, because he's gonna, underestimate me. I'm just gonna put in extra time and effort on learning. So I think learnings has been key for me. Learn. They're going to get you the breakthroughs. That's why we haven't missed any of GHL events. I'll probably be seeing you in Dallas in July. We're going to be there in October. So, just go after the learnings, whatever it is. And then, people are going to be a big expense for us. So like, I understand what JB, you're saying that, it could be overwhelming for us, but it is a huge topic. Like, up to 60% of our revenues are going to go to paying our employees. So you're going to have to get a hold of this topic. And, I hope this gets you at least started on the right path of, again, that journey, learning, learn about people. If you're excited about growing your agencies, by delegating now, because automation, we all know, is covered really well with GHL. But, when that time comes, be the learner that you can be, and, you'll knock it out of the park.
Thank you, Azhar. Appreciate that. And for those that have been tuning in, results will vary, right? The knowledge you're receiving has to be applied by you. If you have any questions, there's some additional resources in the description below. If you're not a user yet of HighLevel and you came across us looking through our content, a friend shared with you on how to get started with us, or about their success with us, or you heard about it through Azhar, RepStack, and that team, or just outside at events, there's a link below for you to get started with your 30-day free trial. Again, there's over 500 features, but it's just to see the visual of what the opportunity is, and then power that with the advice that Azhar has shared with us here, could really fast track you from where you're at now to where you want to be. Without further ado, I appreciate you, Azhar, for spending the time with me. I appreciate our audience spending the time with us and listening and taking notes and really finding a way to implement this amazing information. Until next time, tune in. We have more coming your way. It is a pleasure, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.